Hello and welcome to 360 Gamercast, episode 218 for Tuesday the 6th of August, 2024. I'm your host Mark Webb, gamertag Pearson ID, Steam ID, Webby 360G, and joining me on this very fine evening is...
It's Graham, or G Ham Ox 14.
COVID is still trying to kill me. It's Nick.
And Sensei Switch.
That was very dramatic pause there, Darren.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't realise that it was actually my turn.
Are you playing video games as we record?
I've got a buff running until tomorrow morning, so I'm making my most of it.
Okay. There is a lack of concentration from Darren this evening. That's okay.
Shocking.
That's all right.
I know.
I'm not playing Assassin's Creed.
I'm not playing anything. I'm actually, 100% full attention. So that's all good. Anyway, so Nick, you've been a little bit poorly. You had COVID, as you say.
Yeah. And another, which I've had before, cellulitis infection in my leg at the same time. So
ouch.
That was fun. And then I couldn't stop. But this COVID was like the newer, whatever, mutated COVID 28 or whatever number we're up to now. And basically I was just throwing up constantly for about 2 days.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, which makes it really easy to take antibiotic tablets at the same time when you keep throwing them back up. So.
Oh, lovely, mate. Well, 2024 and, we all thought COVID was gone. And they're
just ignoring it.
Well,
they're on the British hooligan rioters.
I don't think we should really comment on the real life events of the past week. I'd rather talk about video games on this episode, on this podcast, and maybe politics in another forum.
Yeah. There's been a lot, hasn't there?
Yeah, there's been a lot, and obviously the golden rules with your friends: don't talk about religion and politics, and we'll stick with that, and we'll save the politics chat for the Discord, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. So, I know we're really itching to get to what we've been playing, and I'm itching to too, but. I just want to... I didn't bring a beer up. If you're listening and you've got a beer in your hand, that's probably at least Angelos. Pour one out for the Xbox 360 because it is now officially dead. The Xbox 360 store is now dead. You cannot buy...
Best store ever.
Yeah, you cannot buy anything on the store anymore. It is completely shut down, which makes me a little bit sad. I did go on the store the day before it shut, because it shut down Monday. So we recorded Sunday last week. It shut down on the Monday. So on the Monday, I actually went on to it the day it was going to shut down. I think it shut down in the evening, and I actually went on and bought a couple of games on there, just for safekeeping. However, there is something that you can do. So now it's down, and obviously there's a lot of games on there which are backwards compatible. So the weird thing is, right, the backwards compatible games you can still buy on the Xbox One and Series S stores. You can still find them and download them and purchase them. So it's just the games that are not backwards compatible. There's quite a few on the store though, so I went through and purchased a couple. However, if you go to the Internet Archive website, there's actually you can just download the whole back catalogue of Xbox Live Arcade games. It's a few hundred gig, mind you, but you can go and play them on the Xbox 360 emulator on PC, which does work quite well because that's how I played through the unreleased GoldenEye Xbox Live Arcade game, which is fantastic by the way. But the other way you can do it is you can buy a mod chip for your Xbox 360, and then it obviously allows you to play games that you've obtained on the dodge, shall we say? But you know,
obviously ones that you own, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't see a problem in that if they're games that you cannot that you can no longer buy legitimately anyway. So it's kind of a bit of preservation. So you can mod your Xbox 360, use an FTP to push them over to your hard drive on your Xbox 360 or a memory card or something like that, and still play away, which is cool. I think.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So it's nice to see that things are being kept alive in the console communities, because I think I've mentioned before about the OG Xbox as well, where there's that unofficial online service that you can connect the OG Xbox to, and there's still people playing Halo 2 online on that, which is fantastic.
Oh, the online stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, for me personally, though, this Xbox 360 news, as I mentioned last week, it does make me feel quite sad. I mean, it'd been going for 19 years before they finally shut it down, and it makes me feel a little bit old, because I still have really fresh memories of my mind of getting that Xbox 360 console at launch. And you know, I've told this story before. You know, I pre-ordered it like a year in advance on play.com. If people remember that. The website cancelled my order because I didn't get enough stock in, and then I queued up at Tesco's from like midday to secure the system, and only had 5 in. So
did you manage to get the Pro one with the hard drive?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I got the one with the hard drive.
Oh, at least that was good then.
Yeah. So, you know, and that, you know, for me, it's the greatest console generation of all time. Best games, best online on a console ever. Nothing will ever come close to that for me. So this news, you know, it does hit hard a little bit, you know, and you think that this podcast, you know, was born out of the Xbox 360. It was an Xbox 360 only podcast for many, many years. So, you know, that era of gaming is the highlight of my gaming life, to be completely honest with you. And nothing will beat it for me. So the fact that they've shut it down does make me quite sad. You know, I've still got quite a good big Xbox 360 physical disc collection, thank God. And hundreds of games that are sitting on my hard drive that I've bought digital. If you do own the games, you can re-download them. I mentioned this before, but you have to, if you remember the dashboard on the Xbox 360, like it's kind of, you go to the right-hand side and there's like a account setting menu. And it's literally, there's a button called purchases, and it's literally, you just scroll down for all your purchases. So if you bought a game like donkeys years ago, it's going to take you a long time to fucking find it. So it's a bit shit.
It's not like you could put it in alphabetical order or anything.
No, I think it's in date purchased order when I last looked. So, yeah. So if you want, I don't know, Bejeweled, which came out in like 2006 or something silly, you're going to be scrolling down for a while. So, but one of the funny things, because some of the backwards compatible games are quite good. So, funnily enough, Marcus, because pretty much every backwards compatible game that I own, I've installed onto my external hard drive that's attached to my Series X. So whenever my boy goes on, he's like, there's hundreds of games there, and he was like, "Daddy, what's this game?" And do you remember Plants vs Zombies?
Yeah.
Not the one where you're, you know, the third person.
Yeah, the OG one. Yeah.
Yeah.
The top-down one.
Yeah.
Tower Defense.
Yeah, it's like a defense game. Yeah. So he saw that on the console. And bearing in mind, I hadn't actually played it, I don't think. I just owned it for some strange reason. He was like, "Daddy, can I give it a go?" I was like, yeah, give it a bish bash bosh. 2 hours later, "Daddy, I love this game. It's amazing." I was like, all right then, cool. So yeah, it got proper hooked up because it looks like a mobile game, and it probably has or
I
is on
think it
mobile.
started
don't
off
know.
as one. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, but
I
yeah,
don't know if it was an iPad game.
it
Think that might-
maybe, yeah, maybe it was, but I just thought that was pretty cool. I mean, it's nice that these older games, it's nice to share them with your children, I think. So no, it makes me feel quite happy that can kind of share that nostalgia with a new generation. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, I just want to say I'm quite sad about it. My Xbox 360 is still plugged in the man cave, but it feels like the end of an era now. It really does.
Yeah.
PlayStation shut down the PS3 store, what, about a year ago, I think? And they got a lot of shit online for that. A lot of shit. And I think they brought it back after all the kerfuffle and then it went down again. There doesn't seem to have been that. I've not seen that outrage, that similar sort of outrage for the Xbox store, though, for some reason. People have just kind of seemed to have accepted it,
Because they've tried really hard with the backwards compatibility and the amount they've brought out, especially on Xbox One.
Yeah.
And we know that the only thing left really is, things that are stuck in license and hell.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So a lot of, I know people will say, oh, what about this game? I'd say the majority of the best 360 games are backwards compatible.
Yeah,
like
I
the
think,
huge ones.
I think the ones that do suffer, though, with that licensing is, and I purchased a lot of these, were original arcade games.
Yeah, I don't mean those ones, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some have come over, like one of my favourites, Scramble. I love that game. Absolutely fantastic arcade game. That's on back compat, but there's a lot that aren't. And it's just a bit of a shame. But I've got access to it, you know what I mean, on my original Xbox, got it on PC anyway as well, you know what I mean? So it's not the end of the world, but like games like that, I've got really fond memories of because like they made a big effort with the arcade games on the OG Xbox because they gave them all new graphics, a lot of them. And they also, like with Scramble, what I really liked about that, as it's just an example, right? They even gave it multiplayer as well, so you could play it with your friends online. Like I've got some good memories of playing that with a few friends. A couple of our ships just flying around trying to complete the fucking game. No, we never did because it's rock hard. But
yeah,
I just think, and that's kind of like, I don't know. It's just a lot of stuff I miss from that era. Like they made a lot of effort with things like 1 versus 100. If you remember that
was great.
It was like, it was a proper. So for those of people that don't know, and I don't think there is many that don't know, but it was it ran for about a year or so, and it was basically a live online game show, and it was 100 people versus the one, and I think it was like if they got it was a bit you had to answer questions like quiz questions, but it was on like I don't know 8 o'clock on a Saturday night or something. So I remember being at work, so I used to work shifts. I'd be like, I've got to go home before this time because I want to play 1 versus 100. And it just felt like that era of console gaming, especially from Xbox, just had a lot of innovation with things like that. The arcade games, as I say, they put a lot of effort in by giving them, nice graphics and adding multiplayer, and it actually felt like a really cool little separate marketplace to like the normal big games, because you're like, right, I'm going to check out the just the Xbox Live Arcade section and see what's on offer, because they didn't just have like retro arcade games and retro console games. There's a lot of indie games on there, and it was a really good way to find those smaller titles that you maybe would not have tried, because I think the problem now is like a lot of games, smaller games, get lost in just the menu of the marketplace in general. So it's really hard to discover those smaller games, in my opinion. So yeah, I think Xbox since then has kind of lost their way. Just in that aspect. I don't know
I
if you
think
guys
around
kind of agree.
2010, 2011, they kind of stopped pushing the Summer of Arcade and those types of games, and then they ended up going on to PlayStation. I think when the whole Dom Matrix thing started taking over,
Yeah.
they stopped putting stuff into that, and you had games like the end of the PS3, like Journey and things like that, and was it Flow and Flower? A lot of games like that, because I think that was when they didn't originally. They started charging for updates, and PlayStation weren't charging for updates at all. So a few games, the indie games, they just didn't get patched on 360 because they, like I said, they done so well 360 from about 2005 to 2010. They pretty much almost killed PlayStation. Well, PlayStation did a lot themselves, didn't they, with being really expensive, like the online hack as well, didn't they, when it was down for a couple of months and they lost everyone's card details and stuff like that. And I think Xbox, like a lot of them, they just got really cocky.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really big on the indie games, so to be honest, I never really played many. A few of them, but not, I'm never really big on those types of games.
Well, I used to love the Summer of Arcade, right? It was something I just used to just really look forward to it because obviously the summer is the time of year where traditionally not a lot of video games came out. So, I used to think, I used to look forward to Summer of Arcade, like when it became like a yearly thing. So I'd be like, oh yeah, there's going to be like some really cool indie games or smaller games coming out. And I remember they used to give you points, Xbox points back if you bought every game in the Summer of Arcade because you didn't buy your games in with money then, did you? You used to buy the
Microsoft points.
Yeah, the points, yeah. So then they'd be like, oh, if you buy them all, you get, I don't know, 1,000 points back or something, right? So that used to be a really good incentive to purchase them all. And pretty much most of the games that they brought out in the Summer of Arcade were all pretty decent. So, it's...
And you'd like to think Xbox aren't going to be... I mean, everyone knows, like, historically, Nintendo are the biggest fuckers for going after ROM sites and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think Xbox, at the moment, they're quite lackadaisical. I don't think they care too much about stuff like that. I mean, we'll see if it could change later, but, I'm sure, like, people like Phil Spencer said he'd like to put them... I think he said a thing like, we'd like to put them up somewhere so people can have them for free, but I'm sure someone will do that anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, we'll see. I mean, if they don't want to make any money, just let people have them.
Yeah. So you're fucking right, mate. Excuse me. So, yeah, I just wanted to just go down a bit of memory lane with Xbox 360. Sad times. But there we go. It'll always be etched in our memories as a great time of gaming.
I think that was the peak in gaming.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, I like the generation before, like the PS2, GameCube, Dreamcast, all that sort of thing, because we had so many games. But I do think 360 had like the biggest number of quality titles, and then PS3 is a little bit later as well.
Definitely.
Plus, because of the credit crunch, they had it for 8 or 9 years?
Yeah.
Something like that. So whereas normally we get them 4 or 5 years max?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so
cool. Right. Shall we talk about video games of current times then? I think it's good to do that. Graham, I'm going to start with you because I've talked enough for the moment and I need a little rest. So talk to us about something you played this week.
Well, now there's a story. I managed to get some money because I sold some musical equipment I wasn't using. So I had a chunk of money in my pocket. And last week I was talking about PSVR 2 getting a price cut. So I got to the stage where I'm like, if I chop in another 150 quid, I can probably pick one up. So I thought, well, do you know what? They're sold out everywhere. So I wandered up to the Currys nearest to where I work, sort of about 6 o'clock on Tuesday, and they had about 3 on the shelf. So, long story short, I've been playing PSVR 2. So, I mean, I already own Gran Turismo 7, and I own No Man's Sky, and I did pick up another game for PSVR 2. But, I mean, Webby is a fan of Gran Turismo 7.
Fantastic.
Playing Gran Turismo 7 in VR is just mind-blowing. It is absolutely unreal. I cannot explain just how immersive it makes the game feel. I mean, basically, this piece of tech usually is about £540, which is more than a PS5 is, which I think is just way too much money. Even with a 200 quid price cut, that's still, 350 quid. I had a couple of hundred, so I put like 150 down. To me, that felt reasonable. But this thing is just, it's really easy to set up. You have everything you need in the box. And it's stunning. When it works well, it is just mind-boggling to play. Like I say, you're playing something like Gran Turismo, and when you can just move your head to look at the rear view mirror, it's a whole different thing. I mean, I played, for example, I think the very first one I played, I got into the Dodge Viper, and I did the Tokyo Expressway. Yeah. And what I find absolutely amazing is you get down the back straight, and if someone is behind you, if you've made a bit of a bad corner, you can actually get the glare of their headlights. So you know they're behind you before you even look. You actually get the reflection from the rear view mirror reflecting into your eyes. And when it works, it's just incredible. I mean, the screens on this thing are great. The device is fairly light. The only thing I would say is, obviously, if you're in the middle of summer, you do get a bit hot and sweaty. But, I mean, it takes the game to another level. I could imagine that if you had, like, a proper driving wheel set up and played this, I think it would feel almost as close to one-to-one as driving in real life. And I think that because you get all that extra kind of visual feedback, it makes the game feel more realistic, and it kind of gives you more opportunities to do things like overtakes. You can get sideways glances in to just check how far you are from the car next to you, that sort of thing.
The thing I'm going to ask though is, I remember going around a friend's house and playing the VR on Gran Turismo. I think it was on the PS3. But I only gave you a limited selection of tracks and cars that you could use in the VR mode. With this one, is it the same, or can you play the whole game in VR?
You can basically take any mode in the game and play it 100% one-to-one compared to if you were playing it without the VR.
Oh,
so
wow.
you can literally do your cafe missions. I haven't tried multiplayer yet, so I can't speak to multiplayer, but it is literally, you go to your cafe missions, you're on the track with 20 cars, like you would be without VR, and you're getting 100% of that experience replicated in the VR.
Awesome. That's pretty cool.
So you could play the entire campaign in VR, and I have to say, having played it in VR and non-VR, I don't want to play it without the headset on now, because it just feels stunning. But there are lots of little bits in there that they've added. For example, when you go to the menu to purchase a car, you have like a VR preview, and from your home garage, you have what they call VR showroom, which is just stunning. You select the car that you want, you select one of 5 predetermined backgrounds, and you just walk around the car. I mean, I think I actually uploaded this to my my YouTube, which doesn't do it justice, but you can get so close. You can actually read the detail in the tread of the tyres.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
And I think what it does is because it's only rendering one car in a background, you're getting fully ray traced. And I was sat here in my chair and I almost felt like if I put my hand out, I could actually touch the car. It felt that sort of convincing to me.
Wow.
Right.
Honestly,
can you play it for as long as you want, or is it like you can only manage like an hour or two at a time? Because I think when I've played stuff like that, like I think I played one of the ones on PC. I can't remember what one of my cousins had it, and it was a racing game. And you get off, you're actually sort of breathing heavy, and like you feel like you have been driving. And like when you go around the corners, you sometimes it's like your insides move as if you were actually driving. Like if you do a jump or something,
I think
you wouldn't do.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that in a car. Like if you go over a bridge fast and you get that little feeling in your stomach, you sort of get that when you do it as well.
Yeah.
Your brain.
You do a bit. Yeah, you do a bit. I mean, the only thing is I've kind of really only kind of done the maximum I've done is kind of like an hour to an hour and a half, and I think it depends A, on the type of game, and B, how susceptible you are to motion sickness, because I know a lot of people do get very, very sick in VR. I mean, for example, I've been playing No Man's Sky, and No Man's Sky gives you the option to basically have what they call smooth movement or teleport movement.
Oh, they do that in Skyrim as well, yeah.
Yeah, you can basically select how you want to move. And I must admit, I've tried the smooth, and I'm sort of all right with it. But if I start dashing around, then it does make me feel a bit wobbly, you know. But again, that's another one where that game, that is an impressive game. You stick it in VR, and it's just another level to be able to basically look down at the planet's surface. I mean, the only thing I'd say about No Man's Sky is I think the controls are a bit fiddly, but both of these games, both Gran Turismo and No Man's Sky, are what they call sitting game, because you have 3 styles of play for VR. You have sitting, standing, and you have what they call room scale games.
Yeah.
So they tell you when you purchase the game what style of game it is. I mean, bear in mind, I don't have a hell of a lot of room here. You can play a sitting game or a standing game in a 2 meter by a 2 meter area, which is not unreasonable. Most people would get sort of a couple of meters, wouldn't they, really? Sort of. But generally speaking, when you load up for the first time, the VR will scan your surroundings and it will map any physical objects, and it will tell you where it's defining as a play area. And it will ask you to confirm before you carry on, just so you're not going to wander into a coffee table or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I've got some experience with VR, but on the Oculus, and like some of the games, like I get really bad motion sick. But some of the games that I could play was like Fruit Ninja, and not Fruit, and the one with the where you hold the lasers and you got to like hit the bloody things coming towards you. Beat Saber. And Star Trek Bridge Crew, which is fantastic, by the way, if that's available on PlayStation.
I'm not sure,
but
I haven't used the Oculus and I haven't used the Quest or any of those.
Yeah.
But I would say the screens on this are really good. I think they're 4K OLED screens.
Wow.
And it uses this technology which Sony call foveated rendering, and what that means in simple terms is because it has eye tracking, it determines where it is you're looking and it diverts the most graphics to where you're looking at.
That's cool. That is
kind of
really
just
cool.
like real life in theory, because like obviously you look and everything in your central vision is in focus and everything else isn't around it.
There is rumours that this PSVR 2 is going to be compatible with PC soon.
I heard that, but I never heard anything else about it outside of the rumour.
Yeah, it's out. It's out next month. There is next month. It's like October, I think.
Right.
It is getting a software patch and a dongle for use with PC, but it's not going to use half of the features. So basically, it won't use the haptics because the headset on the PSVR 2 has haptics, which you can set.
Right.
And I think it doesn't do. And I think it doesn't work with the eye tracking on PC, which to me seems a bit pointless. You might as well buy a Quest 3 or whatever anyway.
Well, that's just very silly because even on PC, like the controllers work as they should. But obviously, the PSVR 2 has had a massive price cut, and that's because it hasn't been selling very well. And obviously, they haven't been making many games for it. And you know, Clarky's just asked a very poignant question in the Twitch chat: "Do you think the PlayStation's going to bin off the PSVR 2? Is this why they've done the discounts?"
Oh, well, I know that they've sort of halted or they've scaled back their production, haven't they?
Yeah.
So I don't know whether this is them tailing it off to get rid of it, or they're just trying to generate a bit of interest to get some stuff out there. But I mean, this piece of hardware is literally, I think it's only about a year old.
Yeah.
It came out about this time last year, didn't it? And it doesn't feel like it's been very well supported by Sony at all.
No, it's hardly.
Well, even with the PS, like the original PSVR, most of the best games come from third parties.
Yeah.
Yeah, but where's the incentive? You know, if hardly anyone's got one, you know what I mean?
But interestingly, the thing with PSVR 2 titles is PSVR 2 is not compatible with PSVR 1 at all.
That's a mistake, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, for example, I've got like Ace Combat on PS4, which has got a VR mode. I thought, I wonder if that'll work. And you load it up, and it's like, no, we can't see that you've got a PSVR. And I'm like, no, I've got a PSVR 2 plugged in. And I'm like, no, the game's not going to start then.
That's
and I'm like,
so silly. That is so silly.
Well, I mean, I think what they're saying is the way they work is so different that they're not yet they can't translate it from one to the other.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a way.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
Yeah, so there we go. That was my exciting news. But Gran Turismo is just, it's a standout. But, for example, if you wanted to do like touring cars or Formula One, I don't know of any titles on PSVR which basically would support it, really. Is the problem. But is there a good flight sim? Not really. I mean, there are a handful of about 10 or 15 games which are supposed to be really very, very good, but it is literally only 10 or 15 games, and that's the problem. And I think even at 350 quid, it makes it a very, very difficult value proposition for anybody to go with, really, honestly.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
You've still got two cracking games to get for the VR.
What's that?
Resident Evil's Village and RE4.
Yes. In fact, the Resident Evil 4, I think it's just an add-on, which is about sort of £5 or something that you buy on top, but you can play the entire campaign from beginning to end in just VR.
Oh no, it was free. You didn't pay for it.
Oh, was it free? Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, I might check that out, actually. I mean, like I said, the only other game I have picked up is you've already mentioned it, is I have actually picked up Beat Saber because the kids wanted to play it, and I can't get them off of it.
I would check
They love it.
with that Resident Evil. I don't know if it's the Village. It might be the Gold Edition that has VR. Just double check before you buy it, just in case, because that's.
I've got the standard one, and I have the VR mode. It's just an additional free download. That's all it was.
Right.
But no, they've never charged for the VR in the Capcom games. They're just like an added feature.
Yeah, so the controllers are quite good on it, actually. The sense controllers. They're very responsive. They're very light. The only thing is they obviously need to be charged up separately. But it's what it is, really.
Nice. Yeah, so it's only on sale until tomorrow. It says so. It's reduced from £530 to £350.
Yeah,
which was the price of the original PSVR, I think.
Right. Yes, I think you're right. Cool. I mean, you can pick up a PSVR one for like 50 or 60 quid now, send them in CEX.
Wow.
But the only problem with that is you need the camera to do the tracking, and you ideally need the Move controllers, and that you can't get them anywhere for love nor money at the moment. And even if you do find them on somewhere like eBay, they're mega expensive. Whoever's got them are hanging on to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got about 5 of them in the drawer. I think I've used them once.
Have you?
Yeah, there was I think it was on Wii, and then it went on to PS3. There was a Resident Evil light gun game. Something Umbrella Chronicles and Dark Side Chronicles. So I got it to play that, and only that. So I've got loads of them in the drawer gathering dust.
Oh dear. If you want to stick them on eBay, you get some money for them.
I could do. Actually, I don't know if I'll ever play it again. But with that PSVR thing, it's like a lot of companies. It's like, oh, well, if loads of people buy it, we'll support it and bring out games. But no one's going to buy it if they don't support it and bring out games. So it's just like...
No, I know what you mean. It is a bit of a catch-22, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just companies in general. They all seem to want to do that. But, I don't know if I'd say the original PSVR was a failure, but it wasn't like groundbreaking, was it? Was it as big as Kinect? And that wasn't exactly brilliant, but I think a lot of people bought one. But
well, I didn't throw mine out the window, so that's a bonus.
Yeah, but I'm saying is how they supported the original PSVR. Is anyone surprised how they've supported this one?
Well, no, you'd think they would. I mean, this one has improved on the first one in a lot of areas. It is very, very light, and it is very, very comfortable, and the quality of the screens is really good.
I think that was
550.
Go on, Graham. Sorry.
I was going to say, is that worth 550 quid of anyone's money? Is that worth more than the price of a PS5?
I mean, if someone loves Gran Turismo and they get the whole set up and then they get a racing wheel and a seat and all that, and that's all they use and they're happy and they play that for, loads of hours a month, then it probably is worth it. But for someone who's going to use it sparingly and probably get bored after a month, probably not. But I think that was the biggest thing that people had to go at the original PSVRs. They said the screens weren't good enough and it wasn't as powerful. So they've brought one out more powerful with bigger screens. But it seems like none of the big developers want to support it, do they?
Well, I know it's difficult because also as well as it's very sort of Sony specific, isn't it, really?
Yeah. It's kind of like, what was it you said the other day, Webby, where they were talking about they released Resi 7 on iOS and only 2,000 people had bought it.
Yeah.
Let's see, what was the point of, and that's a big thing. I mean, I don't know people who still play games on their iPads at all. I mean, I don't even know people who bother with iPads anymore.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know, as long as you're enjoying yourself, that's all that matters, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna give it a go, play a bit of Gran Turismo, maybe pick up a couple of other games, and like I say, if I get bored with it, then I'll trade it in or sell it or whatever. But no, I think it's a really good bit of tech. I just think the price is just way more than it needs to be. But like you say, they need to get some good games out there in order to sell them. And after a year, is that too late? Are they going to just abandon it? I don't know.
It's kind of like, can you remember on the PS2, guys, they brought out, it's called the iToy?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Like,
yeah.
Kind of like a cheaper, low-tech version of Kinect. But that was like 40 quid with like a game or, tech demo games. And some of the games were like 20 quid. So, when you're only paying that much and you're happy just to, for it to be a, but when you're talking more than what the whole console, it's, it's a lot to swallow in it. I bet if that was 150 quid rather than the 500 or whatever it was, that would sell mental.
Yeah, it would.
I'd buy one, and I'm not even that interested in VR, for that price. But
no, exactly. Yeah, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it, and I know it's not for everyone, but what it does really well. Is all I'll say, really.
Cool. All right. Let's move on to Nick then.
Yeah, I haven't played a lot of different games, but I played one game or a few games for a lot, and I've been on Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Where I've had this. I mean, this came out in 2020, so it's nearly 4-year-old now, and I've been trying to get into it for years. I think 2 or 3 times I've stopped and started and stopped and started. And I've up to about 50 hours now, so I've put in 35 hours since the last time I was on.
No, well, you're not quite up to Darren's time played yet, but...
Well, I understand why you like it, but and the same as a lot of people, which I found out, like, compared to the other Assassin's Creed games, you like, in Black Flag, you're like, oh, this is the little boat bit. Oh, that was fun. I'm never doing that again. And, oh, this is this bit. Oh, that was fun. The tutorial showing you what you can do. I'm not doing that again. I'm just going to beeline the main story. You can't do that in this game. It pretty much forces you to do what we would call side quest stuff.
Yes, it does, yeah.
And it forces you. And I'm like, I must have done these, like, raids along these, the river raids to collect the stuff to upgrade your settlement, which you have to do to, like, unlock the last missions and a few bits. And I mean, that irritated me because I was trying to find these bits for these missions along these river raids, but maybe it did tell you at a certain point, and you know what I'm like for reading menus and tutorials and stuff, I just skip a lot of it. But you actually have to go to a certain area in your settlement and start a river raid, and it sends you to a completely different area to do that. Which I didn't know for ages. So I was like, oh, that's why I can't find anything. So I'm sitting there looking, and this is like a weird game. I haven't had this in games for years, since like the late 90s, mid 2000 games, where I've spent so much time, like wiki guides and YouTube videos telling me how to do stuff and where to go.
It's because you're not reading the game, like what the conversations or anything.
Well, maybe a little bit, but no, sometimes they just don't tell you. Whereas I think before, especially in older Assassin's Creed games, you just follow the yellow dot on the screen, don't you?
Yeah.
But some of the time, there is none of that on the screen. You have to find clues and stuff like that, and it doesn't tell you where, like, the clues are. At least I don't think they are. And when you go to, like, like what you normally do in Assassin's Creed, you go to the top of the tower and you synchronize, and it put these little lights up everywhere with stuff to do. And it's just like shooting stars throughout the whole map. There's just millions of them. I'm like, oh, there's just too much to do. And I mean, the stuff, I do want to finish this game because I was just getting to the point, I'm up to about 50 hours. And my mate who's been playing it, he says he's got up to about 95 hours and he's only just finished it. But I think he's done some of the DLC. I mean, it is still good because some of the side stuff, like you actually go to like Asgard and Jotunheim and stuff like that. You go, and I think you are basically like in a potion dream and you're playing as Odin. And Odin, Loki, Thor and all that sort of stuff. So that is interesting, especially after playing God of War. recently, Ragnarok, with you know, that sort of stuff. I'm like, oh, I know who that guy's supposed to be. I know who that guy's supposed to be. But also some of the stuff, like your power level, what they say. I mean, I'm up to about 160 now. I was like level 25, and I was trying to do missions that say recommended power level like 90 and stuff like that. And then you get there, and like the guys will just kill you in 10 seconds. So I'm like, oh. So I can't do that mission. I've got to do all the other ones. But this is good. And I think you get a lot of game for your money. But if you like people who just want to do the main story, and I think that's what a lot of people have said online, this game doesn't let you do it. You've got to do a lot of the side quest stuff. I mean, there's a bit where you have to kill all these like members of the Order, whereas normally you just kill like, you know, the main characters. And as far as I'm aware, you have to kill all of them to actually unlock the last mission. So I don't know how difficult that's going to be. I think I've done maybe 15 of about 40. So yeah, up to 50 hours. I hope I don't have to play it another 50 hours to beat the game. But I am enjoying, like, you know, the combat and the fighting and the setting and stuff like that. But like I said, I used to play Assassin's Creed every year. Like, I used to get it and, like, I think I just burnt out. I think Unity killed me because the game just broke on me because it came out. It was really glitched. And then I did, what was it, Origins, Mist Odyssey, and I've gone on to this one. But it's still, like, I mean, this game is dirt cheap now. I mean, like I said, if you've got 100 hours worth of gameplay, probably worth that of anyone's money, really. Did you end up finishing it, or did you give up in the end?
Oh, no, I finished Valhalla, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose you spent a lot of time doing all that as well, did you? Like all the side missions and stuff?
To a point.
Yeah. I mean, when I say they're not side missions...
There was a few bits where I just started giving up. Like the platforming sections with the Asian woman, like I thought they were fucking terrible, so I just stopped doing those.
It does that where you just want to run along like an alleyway, and he just all of a sudden wants to start crawling up stuff and things like that. But I think because the map's so big, they just couldn't like program it to be that great, like the parkour stuff. And also some of the fights, you know, like the boss fights, they do feel a bit Dark Soulsy as well. Especially if you're underpowered. But it's definitely a good game. I'm going to keep doing it. This is like switch my brain off and just play games for a few hours, you know, because I think like in the main story, I've completely lost track of what happened. So, you know. But then if a game's 100 hours, you're not going to remember what happens, are you? It's one of those where the journey is the story, not the actual story.
Well, enjoy it, mate, because Ubisoft aren't making any good games anymore, so...
No, that Jedi or the new Star Wars game's getting maligned, and I must admit I've seen some gameplay of it, and it looked really ropey, which is bizarre because, like I've always said, that Ubisoft games always look really well polished.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a German YouTube review site. They put a video out absolutely slamming Star Wars Outlaws, but they took it down today because it wasn't vetted by Ubisoft, apparently. So basically they give these games out early to these review sites, but the reviews have to be vetted before they're allowed online. Well, that's fucking ridiculous, isn't it?
Well, it's basically you got to make sure they're all paid up and they're going to say favourably about your product.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's been going on for years ago, isn't it?
But,
not good.
No.
You can go to like IGN and these sort of websites for game reviews. You should come to this podcast. We'll tell you if it's any good or not.
We'll tell you the truth. It's going to be shit.
Unless it's one that Webby's been sent for review, then we'll lie and say that's brilliant.
I can't remember the last time I had a game for review. It must have been at least 10 years ago.
Concord?
No, that was I got paid for that, mate.
Oh, that was early.
Yeah, because I do a little bit of moonlighting as a game tester.
I mean, you did literally
Right.
say you'd have to pay me to play that game, so you
And
weren't
they
lying.
did. They paid me. They did. Yes, indeed.
Fair enough.
And it still wasn't worth it. But there we go. Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Nick. Anyway, let's crack on and go to Darren.
Yeah, first Descendant, I guess.
Yes, you've helped me this week, you and Pudstar.
Yes.
We've had quite a few long sessions on this week, actually, haven't we? Which has been quite good. I've been enjoying it with you guys. You helped me actually finish the story on it now, which is pretty cool. I had no idea what was going on because I skipped every cutscene and every piece of dialogue I could. I did a bit of a nick on this game, but it was more for just for the gameplay. What I wanted to play this game, and for a free to play game, you know, I've had quite a lot of hours of enjoyment out of it now. To be completely honest with you, but I will say, and I think I said this last week. You need people to play this with because, you know, if you go into a zone and you're on your own and you're trying to do missions on your own, you're going to get absolutely fucking destroyed. You know, so you need people. And a lot of the time there is randomers who are doing the similar missions and stuff, the same missions, shall I say, which makes it easier. But I think it's getting to that point where it's getting less and less now, which is a little bit of a shame. But yeah, I finished the story now with the help of Darren and Pudstar, and now it's basically if I want to grind the game and unlock more Descendants and shizzle, which I don't know if it can be fucked to do, but for the experience I had whilst doing the story, shall we say, the main campaign, very enjoyable game. Darren's obviously played it a lot more than me because he's maxed out a good few Descendants now and actually bought the battle pass and some outfits for the characters, haven't you, Darren?
You.
So yeah,
they added a new Descendant, didn't they, on Tuesday this week, Luna.
Okay.
Who basically uses like music as like the ability that she has. Just basically a buff character. She plays music for her headphones and it increases everyone's sort of damage and magical output, etc.
Very cool.
And it's kind of weird because you play like almost like a rhythm mini game as you're sort of like using that ability.
Oh, nice.
Where you get like notes coming up the screen and if you hit them in time with the song and stuff, it does more damage.
Cool. Yeah, so each Descendant has their own abilities, which is cool. And you level them all up separately, which kind of tries to make the game have more longevity, because I actually completed the game only maxing out one Descendant. So got a bit to do if I wanted to play it, but that's where the grind is. And if you really want to start doing the repetition, going on to hard mode, etc. Not sure if I'm going to too much because I'm more of a kind of I move on to other games kind of guy. But
yeah, I've got a feeling the first update that comes out for this in like I think it's like just over a few weeks time, like end of the month. It's probably going to add new content, new story content and stuff because as you sort of figured out, although you probably didn't watch the cutscenes of the story, but it's sort of like a prologue.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing it's going to kind of have that Destiny thing with it where like it gets expanded on as it goes on because obviously not everything is fully resolved at the end of the story from the main game.
Yeah. I do feel like, though, that I got more... what's the word? More game time, more enjoyment, more... more gameplay out of a free-to-play game than I ever did from Destiny 1 or 2. after spending all
Destiny
that
2
money.
is technically a free-to-play.
Well, it is now, but when it came out, it wasn't. I bought the game and then obviously bought the the expansions, and I feel like this just really puts that to shame in cost regard, because obviously this is a free-to-play game. You don't need to buy any expansions or anything. The way they make money is, battle pass and cosmetics. And there's been news this week about Bungie, hasn't there, where they've made a load of their staff redundant. But, and I don't know what's going on, because like Bungie was Xbox owned by Microsoft, then they went to Activision, then they got bought out by Sony. But since they got bought out by Sony for silly money, they haven't actually made any new games at all. Only Destiny 2 expansions, and then they've laid off like half their staff in the last week. It just seems silly, like a silly move to me. But
modern video game industry, I guess, at the moment.
Yeah. But no, the first Descendant, I think, it's free to play. It's on all platforms. It's definitely worth checking out. I've been playing it on Xbox and PC, which has been really cool. And it's a good fun game. Obviously, I've not put as much time into as you and Pudster, Darren, but I still think it's a good game, and definitely
it still has its issues that need to be ironed out and stuff. It's like I'm doing one of the defense missions now, basically grinding the amorphous materials, which is what you need to use after boss fights to get the items and stuff for crafting things.
Right.
And it's like, at the moment, we're doing like a 7-wave defense, and like literally 9 times out of 10, you just get money, and no one fucking wants the money.
Yeah.
Like, just give us the amorphous materials that we want, which is the main reason why we're doing it, or give us materials for at least crafting, like the mobs drop in the actual game open world part, not money. Like, I mean, it was like earlier today, I think I did one run and we did all 24 waves. Every single reward we got past each checkpoint was cash.
Ugh.
And I just thought, I did not do this for like 700 grand, because you earn a lot of money in the game anyway, just running around. Enemies drop cash.
Yeah.
Like it's about 1,000 credits each time. So you can easily get the money that you get for these. And I just thought that would make it so much better, where you're doing this where it's like, right, we've got to do 7 waves before you even get one reward. And then when the reward comes up, it's like, oh, it's 20 grand. And you're like, oh, fantastic. I'm so glad I invested all that time just to get shit on.
Yeah. It is repetitive, because I remember trying to unlock one of the Descendants. Yeah, Frainer, and I just had to redo one mission like 8 or 9 times or something silly, and I was like, oh my god.
I think yesterday I ran a mission about 15 times before I actually got the drop I wanted.
God. See, that's where...
And that was on a 20% drop, and I just thought, that's not how fucking percentages work, mate. Like...
Well, that's the problem with free-to-play games, you know what I mean?
I understand why it's like that, yeah.
So... But no, it's a good game, mate. No, apart from, there's some of the bugbears, it's free. It's fun to play with your friends. And it's cross-play.
Can I just jump in, Webby? Because I did play this for a couple of hours. Also, I listened to the pods, and I got the same vibes what you said. It's like Destiny vibes, but third person rather than first person.
Yeah.
And like I said, I played through like tutorials and stuff, and I just got what you said. I can't play this on my own. Yeah. It's just, it's not, you have to play, I suppose you could play it on your own, but it's designed to play with friends and have that type of thing, same as Destiny. So, and like I said, I was going to play, but then I just felt sick when I was playing it.
That's fair.
I was ill. But yeah, to be honest, I'm not that fussed if I ever play it again, because I think I've had my fix, like with Destiny. It just, like I said, it feels like Destiny again.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I've done that,
Fair dues.
But it's a nice game though for a free to play as well.
Yeah.
It didn't seem too aggressive asking for money.
No, it's more of an optional thing. Like, you're not forced into paying up for stuff yet.
I've played some of these games where they're making you one click away from spending money before you've even done any gameplay before.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, I'm going to move on to me. So, where's this? Okay, I played a few games this week. Not going to blab on about some of the older ones too much, but I mentioned last week that I completed the Talos Principle 2.
Yep.
Well, I went out. Well, I didn't go out because everything's online now, isn't it? But I purchased the DLC for the game. So the DLC is quite long, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. It's got got 3 little chapters. So one called Orpheus Ascending, which is like an Egyptian area. Isle of the Blessed, which is like this on this island. And this one called Into the Abyss, which is super hard puzzles with references to the original game. Now, I've only done the Orpheus Ascending, which is the Egyptian one, and what I liked about this is that obviously it's all the original characters, but you go into like this VR space thing to do puzzles for a reason. I'm not going to say the reason because it will spoil the original story, because it kind of there's characters that in that, and the reason why you're doing it is kind of the main story of the main game as to why those characters are there, if that makes sense. But it's really cool because it changes the way the puzzles are done, if that makes sense. So obviously there's been reasons. Just trying to get my words out. There's been reasons for doing the puzzles in the original game, and there's reasons for doing these, but they're all done with like lasers and there's always different tools to use in the puzzles with these lasers, and they change it up on this one, like the way that the puzzles are done with those lasers, and they are extremely mind-bending because you need to really think, like, so you got to kind of chuck out your knowledge of how you've completed the puzzles in the main game, chuck that completely out and relearn how these puzzles work again, which is just absolutely mental. But a really enjoyable experience at the same time, because once it clicks, you're like, okay, that's how it's done. And, I'm also just really glad that they added DLC to this game, because obviously the main game is pretty long. It took me over 50 hours to complete the main game. But when I finished it, I was kind of like thinking to myself, I'd really like to play some more of this if possible. And then obviously I saw the DLC on the store. The funny thing is, right, the game on Xbox is 18 quid to buy the actual full game. The DLC is 15 quid. So DLC is obviously only a few pounds cheaper than the actual full game. And obviously the DLCs aren't going to be as long as the main game. But obviously there's that added bonus of your Bing points, right? So I had a $5 worth of Bing points, so I paid a tenner, which, I was all right with that, to be honest. And I'm not going to bang on about it for too much longer. I just want to say, obviously, it's one of my favourite games I've played for quite a while. I love puzzle games, and it's very intricate. It's got a lot of deep meaning to it, and that kind of those conversations and that meaning carries on. Well, in that first DLC chapter, anyway, I can't speak on the other two, but this DLC tails off with one massive crazy ass puzzle right at the end, and fucking hell, that was just insane to me. Absolutely insane, but really cool as well, because it was something on such a grand scale that wasn't really done in the main game. So yeah, very enjoyable, absolutely fantastic game, and you guys need to pick up the Talos Principle too, and tell me how much you love it as well.
Okay.
Okay, I want you to do that for me. Yeah, so that's that. So back to Graham, I guess.
Well, the only other thing I've really played, I've played for a couple of hours because it was on, where it's included with PS Plus. I was curious. I started playing Death Stranding.
Nice.
And honestly, I get, Kojima's games are what they would politely call offbeat. But what the hell? What the hell is going? They're throwing all these. I mean, the only reason I know what the BTs are is because I have seen some video of the gameplay.
British
but they're throwing all these. Yeah, exactly. But they're throwing all these terms around, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? I've got a baby in a jar, and I can sense these things, and I'm like, they haven't really explained any of this. They do sort of chuck you straight in and you're up and running. But I tell you what, this game absolutely looks stunning though, doesn't it?
Oh God, yeah.
The really Decima engine, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's what they used for Far Cry, wasn't it? Or it's a modified version of that.
No, it's Horizon Zero Dawn's engine.
Oh, is it? But it looks. This game does look amazing. The faces of the characters as well is just. I don't think I've seen anything on any other platform that looks as good as this. It is just amazing. But yeah, I mean, it's very kind of fetch questy. I mean, I'm literally. Can I talk about the plot? I mean at this point, it's quite an old game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I've done the mission where you meet the president, who's your mum, and I've taken her body to the incinerator. So I've sort of done 2 or 3 missions, and I've come backwards and forwards a few times, and I'm I'm sort of still playing it, and I'm still into it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people say that the campaign is very, very long. Who knows, after about another dozen hours I might get a bit bored of it, but at the moment I'm sort of enjoying it, and I'm sort of I'm into the weirdness, and I'm trying to learn what all these things mean, but there isn't really anything else which is much like it, is there?
No, but the problem I had with it was like the initial few hours I really enjoyed it. And then it just started to get a little bit repetitive to me. And then I just got frustrated with the black stuff, like spending ages avoiding those weird ghosty things and then getting caught and then the whale coming up and losing all my shit. And I was just like, for fuck's sake. And it was just constant, you know what I mean? And it's just annoyed me. It was more annoying than just, what's the word? It was just more annoying than fun, you know what I mean, and edgy and stuff.
Yeah,
I was just like, I can't be fucked. It's pissing me off now. So, yeah, that's.
I've heard a lot. Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of people say when you get so many hours in, it does get a bit repetitive. But I'm just sort of, I mean, technically the game isn't free, but I can play it with my PS Plus subscription, so I'm happy to give it a whirl for a few hours and just see what I think, and. If I like it, I like it, and if I get bored with it, then I'll just stop playing it, really.
Yeah, fair dues.
But that is pretty... I mean, apart from VR shenanigans, that's sort of the only other thing I've really played this week, really.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's summertime, I get it.
Yeah, well, I've been outside.
Yeah, living life, living the dream.
Exactly that.
I went to talking about being outside. Took the kids to a Civil War reenactment today, and they loved it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Not the real Civil War then that's going on.
No, the British Civil. No. Yeah, with all the muskets, and firing all the muskets and all that was pretty awesome. But yeah, cool. Back to you then, Nick.
Yeah, so I've been playing like some handheld games. So I got a new Android handheld, similar to Graham's, but I got it was an Ambernick one, but it's rather than the Game Boy sort of shape one, it's more of a PSP. So the buttons are on the side and the screen in the middle.
Is it the RG35XX or?
Yeah, 35XXH something.
Yeah.
And it's been replaced already. They brought another one out, an RG40 with RGB lights around the sticks, and I think the screen is half an inch bigger.
Oh, right.
But that's always the way, and as soon as you buy something, it gets replaced. But apart from, I think it's pretty much the same inside.
Okay.
But yeah, I got that for my birthday, and that's been like, that was bought like a month or so before my birthday, so it is what it is. But I mean, I was enjoying it because I was like playing it a lot in bed because I was in bed for a few days. I couldn't really sort of play it all, but I mean, it's just fun. Even though it's like nostalgia, I was playing some of the Dreamcast games.
Yeah.
So I was playing like Sonic Adventure 2 for a bit, Crazy Taxi, and it's great that you can get games like that on a handheld. But the only problem with those is the screen is just too small for those types of games to actually see. Some of them you can get away with it, but I think some of the older games which I've been playing, like the 16-bit and 8-bit, those types of games that run a bit slower, I think you can get away with those a lot more.
Yeah.
Than some of the PS1 games. And the main one I've been playing is a ROM hack called Pokemon Ash Grey.
Okay.
It's basically a ROM hack of Fire Red. And I think they finished it over 10 years ago. That's how old it is. But what they've done is they've redone the game, like done all the sprites, and they've made it so you actually play as Ash from the anime.
All right.
It was always the thing, because back in the day, you'd watch the anime, didn't we, Webby, and like the cards. Well, I'm just saying, in general, you'd watch the anime and you'd play the game, and you're like, hang on, how come I'm not playing as Ash? Who's this red guy or blue? And then you'd get to Team Rocket, and you're like, oh, Jesse and James, and it was just a generic big nose bloke, and you're like, where's all the team? Where's Jesse and James and Meowth? Where's all this stuff? And they've actually done a really good job. I'm only about 3 or 4 hours in. But they copy a lot of stuff, it was like little cutscenes and events that you play from the anime. So you follow the story from the game in that.
Okay.
So like, obviously you arrive late in your pajamas, all the Pokemon are gone, so you have to get Pikachu and he hates you and things like that. And it's just really cool that people, because I've always wanted a game where, back then, everyone wanted a game where you could just play like the anime. And they never ever really did it.
Okay.
And I think it's just cool that people, obviously I don't know if they did donations and things like that, but this is just stuff people enjoy. There's so many ROM hacks of Pokemon and other games out there, where they've done. I think there's one on there which I played for a bit. It's just called Pokemon Outlaw, and I'm like, sounds fun. Yeah, it's a bit rude. It's quite rude. And there's some more which I just looked at some video because I watched a couple of videos on YouTube, like top 10 ROM hacks and of this and that. And there's one I think it's like Pokemon Girls Hunter. So you actually collect like naked girls instead of Pokemon and you make them fight. And they put all like the nude sprites. I'm like, okay, I like the Ash Grey one. This might be going a bit too far. But it's cool, because I could play the game that I always wanted back then.
Oh, fair dues. I'm glad you're enjoying it, yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. And the handheld works really well. And the battery's pretty good and the speakers are good, unless you forget to turn it off. And then it's just running in the background and then the battery dies.
Yeah.
But that's not really that's fault. But it's fairly simple to put. Well, I mean, it had loads of ROMs put on, but not a lot of the Nintendo stuff because Nintendo really go hard at these companies and websites and put a lot of pressure, and I think basically threaten them with like legal action for stuff like that.
Yeah, these handheld devices have gotten very popular though, haven't they? Because
Yeah, did you buy that one in the end?
yeah, because I got the R36S and Graham bought the same one as well, which is like the Game Boy style one, and I was quite surprised when it arrived. It had over 10,000 ROMs already on it. So I was like, oh, I bought an SD card, and we loaded it with the load of ROMs before it even turned up. I was like, oh, I didn't really need that. But I did add, obviously, some of the games that were missing. And it's a pretty cool little device, really, because, I could just play like actual Game Boy games on it, like Tetris and shit like that.
That's the sort of thing, because some of those games are really expensive now.
Yeah.
Because you can't buy them, so you get the ROMs. But also, I don't know if yours could do it as well. I mean, my game, you can actually plug a HDMI cable into it, and then you could play it on a TV as well.
I can't remember. It's downstairs. I need to have a look at it.
Yeah, I need to find one because I think it's like, the small HDMI.
Yeah.
A small to a big one. So I think I need to order another cable for that to that, and then I could play the Dreamcast games on the big telly, couldn't I?
Yeah, I mean, I think, those devices, I'm surprised how cheap they are, because I think I only paid like 25, 30 quid for mine. And it runs really well. The games run well. Obviously, it's got loads of old, games on, like loads of arcade games, Neo Geo, PC Engine, obviously all the old Sega and Nintendo games and stuff. And it's just a cool way of playing all those old games again, you know what I mean, in that little kind of handheld format. So, yeah, very cool.
That's fun. I like those.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Darren, anything else, mate?
Final Fantasy 14, the usual.
Yeah. That it?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. Back to me then. Obviously, the only other big game that I've been playing this week, I've put a little bit more time into it now, is Fallout London. Yeah. It's fucking amazing, man. I do kind of feel sorry for my console friends who can't play this, because they've done a really good job with London. Like, they've got like all the English voices right. They've got obviously like the tube, and they make references and stuff like that. But now I've explored more of the map. I mean, the map's huge. I've hardly really explored. I don't think I've explored even kind of a quarter at all. Like, I've done like a tiny little section, and I look at the map and I'm like, fucking hell, I've got all this I haven't even seen yet. But I've got to the Thames. I've seen the Tower Bridge. I could kind of make out the Millennium Wheel in the distance, which is really cool. But they take a lot of liberties in it. So like a lot of the shops will be like, you'll know what they are, like Boots, and stuff like that. But they kind of, the logo's the same, but they add like, instead of it being called Boots, it's like Booths. You know what I mean? So they get around that legal kind of thing. So you recognise a lot of the shops. Obviously, the old London buses are scattered everywhere. You go into the underground quite a bit, and it's just really, really well done. Like, so I've only done work for one faction so far, because I've still not played it super loads, but a good few hours, and they're based in a pub, and it's a proper, like a pub that us guys would all know, right? Because being British, right? Yeah. So they're in the pub, and it's all like Cockney chatting and
Knees up, Mother Brown.
Yeah, but it's really cool. So the game's got a full day-night cycle. I do think at night it looks a little bit too dark for me, like on my screen, and I can't find a way of increasing the brightness in game. I think that's just, they've omitted that in the mod menu. But during the day it looks absolutely lovely. Obviously it's all on the old Fallout engine, but it still looks good, I think. But what I'm really liking about it is just obviously you can tell why it's taken them so many years to do this, because it's an absolutely huge map. They've done all the voices, all the weapons are different. The Pip-Boy is completely different. I've actually got a companion now, which is a little dog. He's followed me around, and just going. It's just really interesting, just exploring London, because it's all the real places in London. All the
Is it
names are
mapped
correct.
out properly and stuff?
Yeah, it looks like it's mapped.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, I can't say it's a 1-to-1 or whatever, because I don't know London that way. But when you look at the map, you can see like the Thames running through the middle of the map, and then all the places I've visited, like Greenwich and stuff like that, have all been, the real names of the kind of areas in London, which is really cool. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it, and it's free. It's absolutely free. I mean, saying that, I didn't actually own Fallout 4 on PC, because obviously I've had it on Xbox when it came out, and then obviously it's on Game Pass now, but you need to either own it on Steam or Good Old Games to use the mod. So I bought a copy on GOG for 15 quid, just so I could play the mod. So they did make some money out of me. GOG did anyway. So, but no, it is really interesting, because as I say, it's all that Fallout gameplay is there, with the VAT system and obviously you create a character is quite in depth at the beginning, and it's it's the same. You put stats to like your speech or your strength and all these other bits and pieces. And then as you level up, you can assign points again, like the lock pickings in there, and obviously if you have high speech, you can talk your way out of stuff, etc., which is really cool. But no, it's just really cool, because it feels like a proper Fallout game to me, like because they did like Fallout Vegas, which was a full Fallout. This is like another Vegas to me, because it's a whole new massive area, whole new story, but it's Fallout, you know what I mean? So I think it's fucking amazing. So if you've got a PC that's can run Fallout 4, download this mod and give it a bosh, because it as I say, it's not like a shitty mod or anything like that. It feels like a full actual Bethesda release of something, of a game, which is really cool to say, really, that since this game was made by fans, so big respect to me from me for that. Obviously, because it's a mod, I have encountered a couple of crashes of the game, but there's actually mods on Nexus Mods, which you can download and install to stop those crashes and to make the gameplay experience a bit better as well. So I've put those mods in, and it's been smooth as butter since then.
You get those crashes in a normal Bethesda game anyway, don't you?
Well, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So, no, it's really, really good. I'm absolutely loving it, and I'm looking forward to playing it some more this week, because
have they finished it yet, or is it still sort of?
Well, the Fallout London, it's out. It's properly out, and I don't know if they're still doing any work on it now, because I think from what I've read, it's finished, and that's why it's out. So, yeah, it's good. Recommend
It's
it.
nice that something like that comes out, because there's so many other games that people have made. Because I remember there was, I think they turned it into a different game, but someone was making like a Resident Evil 2 remake before they announced that, and they turned that into, was it Daymare 1998?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Capcom were like, yeah, you're not doing that anymore, mate. And they forced them to do that, but I don't know if they helped them release it. Probably not, but I don't understand these companies. They've got to protect their IPs, and
yeah. Well, I think it's pretty good that Bethesda haven't come down on them or anything like that, and just said, yeah, you can release it. as long as you're not making, I think part of the thing was as long as you're not making any money out of it, they're quite happy.
Well, I don't think a lot of these modders were, but then you think if you need to buy a copy of Fallout 4 to mod it and play it, then they're going to make, then Bethesda are going to make money out of it.
100%.
So, you know, I suppose that's a win-win for all of them.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's Fallout London. It's great.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend it.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice.
Graham, anything else from you?
Well, I did fire up the little, you reminded me, I did fire up the little retro console and I did play through a little bit of F-Zero X and I very briefly played a bit of Blast Core as well, both N64 version games.
Nice.
And you know what? F-Zero X I think still holds up today. I think it's a good game. The graphics are dated a little bit, but it just feels fast, it feels fluid, and it's just really playable. It's just your typical Nintendo game, just very, very good gameplay, really.
Very well made. Excellent.
Yeah, and that's it really. That is the last of what I've played, really.
Nick, anything else from you, mate?
No, I've been, girlfriend's been on the Switch playing Link's Awakening, so I've just been watching her play that a bit.
So you've been playing Link's Awakening then?
No. She's been playing it, and then every 10 minutes, she's like, how do I do this? I'm like, I don't know.
Great game, mate. Great game is Link's Awakening.
Yeah, but there's another one coming out in that art style, but you play as Zelda.
Yeah, that does look good. That looks really good. Yeah. Nice. And Darren...
That looks a nice little game.
Yeah. Yeah. And Darren, did you say that you had finished as well?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I've got a couple more I'm going to rip through just very quickly, just to mention. I did actually play another game that came out on Game Pass on the recommendation of our very own Gavlar and Ruski Do. It's called The Case of the Golden Idol. Have you played this? Have you heard of this? This came out a couple of years ago. It's fucking weird. Really fucking weird. So basically it's like a point and click game where you got to solve, it's like a murder mystery thing, but it's set in like the olden days, where they're like burning witches at the stake and shit like that. But it's kind of about these like rich people and people have been murdered, and there's like a conspiracy going on in the background and secret societies and stuff like that, which all comes together, which I'm not going to do spoilers for. But it's basically you click through these screens, you collect these clues, and it gives you words, and then you've got to solve the chapter by putting these clues together to draw out a conclusion. You know, like Adam Pear murdered William Wright with a dagger on the 4th of December because he was having an affair with someone or something like that. But you got to like look at the clues to figure it all out.
Right.
But it's really fucking weird. It is such a weird game. Just because like the screens are all weird, like just look really fucking strange. It kind of reminds me of that kind of old Monkey Island art style, if you remember that back in the day. But it's just, yeah, it feels very retro, but yeah, just very strange. But yeah, it's on Game Pass. Give it a bosh. It's weird and wonderful. So that's what I want to say on that one. And the only other things I've really played is a bit of Sea of Thieves with Marcus and the missus. We had a good session on that yesterday, which was really, really fun. Did some Fall Guys with Marcus. So basically the way that me and Marcus play Fall Guys is he plays it on the Xbox and I play it on the Steam Deck, and I just join his game and we go through Fall Guys. Great game. And also myself and Marcus have been playing quite a bit of Golf with Your Friends. Great game. We've played it a lot, obviously, in the community, but they also have a mode where you can just do couch versus. So it's basically it's past the controller. So you put a couple of players in, and once you've had your go, you pass the controller to the next person. Yeah, that's what I've played. Been good fun. Yeah. So yeah. So that's been good. So news-wise, a few bits of news this week actually. So Game Informer magazine, which has been running for 33 years, has stopped publishing magazines from last week. It got shut down immediately. It's owned by the American gaming firm GameStop, which is basically like our game. I think it got bought out by GameStop a few years ago. Yeah, and it's gone under. Obviously, print media is slowly dying anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember the last time I bought a magazine, to be fair. So it's obviously caught up with them now, and they've had to shut down. So obviously, all the stuff have been made redundant. And it is quite sad when magazines die, but I think it's just the sign of the times, to be fair. I mean,
I think the worst thing is with obviously like gaming magazines, you can kind of understand it in a sense because I used to read all of those to get the news, to find out what games are coming out and all that kind of stuff. And obviously since like you've had social media and like YouTube, etc., you see the trailers on there, you see all of the stuff on Twitter and whatnot, so you already know about half the stuff anyway. Why are you gonna go and buy a magazine for it? I mean, I still bought magazines up until I'd say probably about 10 years ago. I used to buy some and take them into work to read, but then obviously once like your Twitters and all that lot took off and you get all of your different content creators on YouTube, you just hear and know about stuff way in advance anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I remember as a kid, I used to get I had a collection. I had literally hundreds of official PlayStation magazines, because I used to get them obviously for the news, but also the demo discs. And then, I mean, I used to subscribe up until I'd say about 10 years ago, that Games TM magazine, because I used to really I actually preferred that to Edge. I used to get
whiny.
Yeah, because Games TM used to just be really good. I used to really enjoy just reading the articles in there. And then they went under. I think they got bought out by Edge, the company that owns Edge or something. And then Edge, I've never really...
Publishing.
Yeah, I've never really liked Edge, to be honest. So I kind of stopped. And then I subscribed to an app, actually, that you guys might want to know about. It's called Readly. And that's basically £8 a month or whatever. And you can basically get fuck loads of magazines and loads of newspapers on there you get your most of your daily papers on there. But loads of magazines, including like Retro Gamer and Edge and stuff like that. So I did subscribe to that for a while, but then I cancelled it. So I don't know. I think that kind of media where you pay for it is kind of dying off. I mean, you look at newspaper sales, they've kind of died, and that kind of niche magazine media, I don't. It's not as relevant anymore, as Darren was saying, because there's so many places that you can get that content for free online. Why are you going to pay for the magazine? So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, but it is a shame because obviously Game Informer was one of the most long-standing and generally well-regarded gaming publications in the world. So it is a shame.
Mm.
You can get some. I've ordered a few. I get some on Kickstarter and some websites, but they're more retro.
Yeah.
Things like Sega Mania.
Yeah.
I think they're now come back and a few stuff like that. But like I said, it's mostly retro stuff.
Yeah, because I know the Retro Gamer magazine is quite popular still.
Yeah.
I believe anyway, because obviously that's catered to that audience, isn't it? Like those old school people kind of like reading that print media, and I understand that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you were probably the same as me, though, Webby. You'd get that magazine, like PS, the PlayStation one. You'd play the demo like mental,
yeah,
and then probably end up maybe buying a game that's been on that demo. And the magazine, you just read it again and again and again, looking at the screenshots. Because obviously, especially back then, you'd get games come out in Japan sometimes up to a year before we get them.
yeah,
And things
Good
like
old
that.
days.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But now they don't need to spend money to print magazines to sell you. Everyone who wants to be is in your pocket already, aren't they?
yeah, yeah. That's it.
Just bang something on YouTube. Something's on social media. You'll find out. I mean, if you're into games and stuff like that, and you follow a few bits, you do well if it's a big announcement to not know it's happening.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, I always use the best one, GTA 3, that I didn't know that was out until I saw it in the shop, and the bloke in there said, "Oh, you should play it. It's really good. Oh, it's 3D now. Oh, GTA 3, I'll give it a go."
See, I remember, Nick, Electronics Boutique.
Yeah, that's where I used to go.
So that was a great game shop until they got bought out by Game. Fucking wankers. Yeah. But I used to go into EB Games in Cambridge, and basically I would pre-order games there. I don't recall having to put any money down to pre-order. Obviously, you just pay for the full game when you went and picked it up. But
I think Game then started charging you a $5 to pre-order.
Yeah, but
I think towards the end you just had to pay the whole money, and it could be a year in advance, and just pay for the lot.
But basically, what I liked then, I mean, you're talking about the late 90s here, so mobile phones and the internet and social media wasn't really a thing. But I'd go into EB Games and I'd pre-order a game, and then they would ring me when the game was in the shop, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, your game's in. Do you want to come and get it?" And I remember I pre-ordered Final Fantasy 9, and it came out a week early. And I remember them ringing me, and I'd be like, "No, like, oh, it's in now. It's come out a week early." It's like, "Fucking hell, get straight on the bus."
A lot of the indie game shops that used to sell them, they used to like get them in, and they used to just break street date and just sell them to you. Because basically, it's not a thing to do, and technically breaking street, I suppose it's illegal, but they had to do what they had to do, the little independent shops, to get to get money.
Yeah.
And eventually I did, I remember one near me, it was called One Step Beyond.
Yeah.
And they used to break street date loads of times. So it used to be Friday, and I was like, oh, but they're going to release it on Tuesday. And it's £5 cheaper than EB. Yep, go in there.
Brilliant.
Those were the days.
Go to school. Yeah. Oh, that's not out till Friday. I've got it. What?
Yeah.
And you'd show the game case, and they're like, "Oh, that's so cool." And then you'd walk away, and they'd be like, "Wanker."
Brilliant. An interesting piece of news. It's fucking silly, but it made me chuckle. A player is suing the developers of Elden Ring because it's too hard.
What?
This is an actual news story. Yeah.
What?
Elden Ring player suing. Yeah. From Software because the game is too hard.
I don't know if I 100% disagree with that.
It's because you're a Noobenstein.
No, I mean, most of us know that the Dark Souls games and things like that are extremely difficult, and but you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
A lot of people who don't just buy it and they can't get past it, is it their fault? I know you got the whole get good and all that sort of stuff, but if they're that, they're really casual gamer and they're not that good. I mean, you don't know. I mean, I haven't read the article whether they've got any sort of, disabilities or motor function, things like that. You know, they put games on there, oh, you require, you know, internet access and stuff like that. I don't think they ever put on them, you know, in the back, by the way, this game is really hard, you're going to die all the time. You know, so I sort of get, you know, I sort of get where they're coming from. I don't know if they're going to be able to sue them, but
games have been hard since the beginning of video games.
You died all the time in games, like back in the day. Like,
I don't know, that mid-2000s to 2015s, they got really easy. Plus, you know, they still moaning now when they put the yellow paint everywhere to tell you where to go and things like that. So some games are really difficult, you know, and especially I think that's the biggest one that doesn't have any, you know, difficulty mode, which, you know, people have argued over that, which for years that, you know, and I don't think Dark Souls should, because if it wasn't difficult, I think it would be a shit game. That's why it's good, because it's so hard. And it's that you've got to keep going, you're supposed to die. But, you know, if people are buying it and not realising, you know, I do feel a little bit sorry for them if they don't know. I mean, imagine if you bought a game, Webby, like you said you bought Final Fantasy IX, and you couldn't get past the first 10 minutes, and all people just said to you, oh, get good, loser.
Well, I'll just grind my dudes and level up. Yeah,
but if you know, if you literally can't do it, it's not nice, is it?
It's always a way, mate. That's what video games
I mean, there's like, you could just take the game back to the shop, or like if you got it from the shop, or like if it's
that.
on.
I would sell the game. I wouldn't try to sue the company. But then we live in a world where chubby girls in America sued McDonald's for making them fat and won. So, you know.
Fucking... It's America for you. But
I mean, this guy probably comes from America as well, doesn't he?
Well, more than likely. But also, just talking about gamers suing people, there's also another lawsuit going on aimed at Ubisoft for shutting down the Crew servers as well. This is going on in Europe because obviously people are suing, saying, you know, you're bringing these games out and then shutting down these servers and we can't play them anymore.
Yeah.
And they want to stop that practice, which I'm actually on board with. You know, make an offline mode, make it so people can make some peer-to-peer servers or something like that. You know what I mean? Just so it's still fucking playable somehow, you know? So,
yeah.
And my last bit of news, which was quite interesting, was on the standard. Obviously, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is on Game Pass now, so there's a lot more players on there. But it's also increased the amount of people using cheats and hacks in the game. So So the game's got anti-cheat software, but obviously it's not doing its job because the game is apparently inundated with people using like wall hacks and shit like that, like aim bots and bits and pieces. And even Angelos has said to me he's fucking sick of the game because you can blatantly see when people are cheating and it's making the game less fun, etc., etc. So obviously the game going on Game Pass has had some unintended consequences, which they need to fucking sort it out, really do. So
yeah.
That's all my news. Anything else from you guys?
I think that's it, really.
There was, I haven't seen it, but there was apparently a THQ event, wasn't there?
I think it's this week. I don't know if it's happened yet.
No, it's been and gone. It was a couple of days ago. I think it was Friday.
Oh, couldn't have been anything good then.
I've not seen anything about this.
Apparently talked about a new Darksiders game and some other bits and bobs.
THQ Digital Showcase, 2nd of August 2024. All right.
Friday then. Oh.
All right.
Does it say anything about the titles in there that they showed, or
The Eternal Life of Goldman? I'm just having a quick look. It looks like a side-scrolling platforming game. Looks quite interesting. Kind of nice graphics, cartoony graphics. bit like Ori and the Blind Forest type kind of art style.
All right.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, that looks quite cool. I can't believe I never. And this is a right. This is. I just want to mention this, right? I used to use Twitter to get a majority of my gaming news on events and stuff like that. But now all I see is political bullshit and no video game stuff anymore, which Twitter used to be a really good platform for gaming stuff, and now it's not.
Yeah.
So I don't know anywhere else to get all my gaming stuff from now. It's really difficult. So apologies for that. A game called Space for Sale, where you look like you're a little top-down game where you're in space and you've got to build shit. So that's quite interesting. A game that I probably will pick up is Epic Mickey Rebrushed. Really enjoyed the original Epic Mickey, playing that co-op with the missus. So I'll be looking forward to that. That is coming September the 24th, actually, 4 days after her birthday. So I might get that for a late birthday present. Wreckfest 2 trailer.
Oh, very good.
Yes, featuring completely overhauled physics engine for an even more realistic destruction, fully customizable cars that you can share with other players, and revamped game modes, including a brand new split screen mode. Oh, that's cool.
Oh, right. Nice.
Yeah, the
Love that game.
gameplay video, although it doesn't really show much gameplay at all. So,
No.
and there's no release date either that I can see, but that looks quite cool. Titan Quest 2. I don't think I even played the first one. It looks like a Diablo kind of clone. Looks quite interesting. So there's that. Did any of you guys play any of the Gothic games?
No, I know of them.
There's a Gothic 1 remake coming.
I think I saw an announcement trailer for that a while back of like some bloke pickpocketing people and then sort of falling foul himself at a gambling den.
I'm sure I remember vaguely playing a Gothic game on the Xbox 360 actually, and I remember it having co-op. If that's, it's
aren't they like really old, like over 30 years? Gothic, like it's pretty old franchise, isn't it?
Oh, so this Gothic 1 came out in 2001. I think I played Gothic 2 on the 360. So apparently the original Gothic came out in 2001. It looks quite cool, actually. Third-person game setting, kind of like a fantastical
medieval.
Land. Yeah,
I thought it was medieval.
Yeah, well, it looks kind of fantastical because you've got like orcs that I can see in this trailer, and you're fighting spiders and shit like that as well. So, but yeah, very medieval castles and stuff going on as well. It looks pretty nice though, with the forests and shit like that I can see in this trailer.
It's Gothic with a K, isn't it, instead of a C?
No, it's not. No.
All right.
No.
Hmm.
Way of the Hunter Linthicado Reserve. I'll fucking pronounce that, but yeah, you hunt animals and shit. And what else can I say? You know what I mean? There's a teaser trailer for something called, it's just like unannounced Tarzia Studios project teaser, and it looks pretty fucked up. There's like a pig with its guts like being coming out of it, and that is actually it. That trailer looks fucking weird. Yeah, and that's it. That's quite interesting though. There's a few good games there. Cool.
I got one bit of news which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't think so. It's Capcom. They released the original Resident Evil trilogy, kind of, on Good Old Games.
Oh,
and they said that they and it says it's out now, but it's not out now. You can buy the trilogy for, I think it's like £24.
Right.
But at the moment, only the first one is you can actually play of the three,
Oh, right.
which is a bit like, yeah. But, you know, because I said about the Tomb Raider, you know, they did like a HD thing, whereas these, they haven't done anything. They've just re-released the PC versions of like 25 years ago or whatever.
Oh, that's just shit then.
And, well, it isn't in. It's like you can't actually, since they shut the PS3 store down, you cannot actually buy these anywhere to play on anything.
Well, that's actually
You know,
pretty good then.
You know, and it depends what you want. You know, if some people want to keep the games, you know, in the original state rather than HD versions. And it's nice. There's a few bits, like I think 2 is coming out soon and 3 later. But they did say that it's coming to other platforms at some point. So maybe they're going to release them on consoles and Steam. It wouldn't surprise me. But it's just weird that they're staggering them, you know, and they've checked a few bits. They're literally just the PC version ports of the game.
Okay.
But they have done a few bits, like they've, you know how when they released the director's cut version, because they censored the hell out of it in like the UK and America. You know the start, Webby. You know the cutscene.
Yeah,
actually, it was in black and white over here, and they cut a lot. And then when they brought the director's cut versions out in America and over here, they were supposed to, you know, be, and it says released uncensored and in colour, and they just put the black and white censored version on again.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
So they did that, like, and then they brought out a dual shock director's cut version that did have the coloured. So I'm like, oh. So they've done stuff like that, and apparently if you change the language to Japanese, it actually changed everything. So you're playing Biohazard as well.
Oh, cool.
So it's kind of nice that they're doing that, and it's like 20 something quid. But I'm gonna wait until they're all out and that, because I'd prefer them to be on console, because I don't know if they have achievements and stuff like that. It's just, you know, these old games, I mean, I've still got my old copies on discs, and, you know, they're my big, you know, Resident Evil's my big franchise that I like playing. It's just nice that these games, you know, that they finally bring them out. I don't know why they didn't release these on Steam 15, 20 years ago, to be honest.
I've no idea.
It's just, well, I do know why. Because they think if they release these games, it will affect the sales of the new games.
Maybe, I don't know.
I think that's a Japanese way. I remember the PlayStation guy who said, why would anyone want to play any of the old Gran Turismos when they can play the new one?
Oh, right, okay.
You know, so you know, maybe that's just a mentality from Japan, but it's nice that they're coming out.
It's like their mentality with demos, wasn't it, for a while?
Yeah,
they didn't like releasing demos
and
games
things like that
because it was unfinished.
Cool. Any other news? As we've been 2 hours now, so probably about time we wrap up, I guess.
I think that's it, isn't it?
Cool. All right then. So guys, thank you very much for coming on. It's been awesome. Really enjoyed it this week. Big thank you to the people that stayed and listened to us live on Twitch. If you do not know, every Sunday, 7:30 p.m, twitch.tv/Webby360G. You can watch us live. Always nice to see people and having a chat in the background whilst we're making our discussions, ask questions and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been awesome. Thank you very much for coming on, everybody. We will see you next week. Goodbye.